Hi, friends. I am Sarah with Faithful Finish Lines, and I'm so excited today to walk you step by step through using an Instant Pot pressure cooker. Technically, the name brand is Instant Pot, but I get lazy and just call it an Instant Pot. Hi, Becky. So Becky is going to be joining me too, and Becky is brand new to Instant Pot freezer cooking or Instant Pot cooking. I use mine for freezer cooking too. So we will get hers out of the box and get it going. So great. So Becky's here. I'm going to bring Becky on and make sure we got that working. So oh yay! Oh, and look at that. That looks awesome. Hi, Becky.
Hey.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, I'm going to move back here so everybody can see my kitchen counter. Let me just show you a couple things to start off. And look, you've got your Instant Pot in your box. This is so exciting.
I've had it since Black Friday, and I've opened the box and taken out the instruction manual and haven't done anything else.
Well, and I think that's an important thing to say is it can be a little overwhelming. I know when mine came, it was bigger and heavier than I thought it would be because it is heavier than a crock pot. And there's a ton of buttons on it. There's not just a high and low. There's all these different buttons. And so I've shared before on my website, mine sat in the box for a month because I was just overwhelmed. I had all these other things going on. And then my friend offered to walk me through exactly what to do, and that was what I needed. So that's what we can do today.
Yeah, I am so excited about that because really it's been one of those things where anything new that you add, there's always so much to learn. But this is great having a step-by-step process taking me through it. It's going to save me so much time.
And it's like it become a whole cult online. You know, people say potheads, you know, and all this stuff. And I thought, I don't need to join a cult.
Exactly.
But it's really, people are just excited about all the different things that you can do and how much time it can save you. So what I wanted to show you before we start is this is my 6-quart. This is what it looks like, which is the same size you have. Mm-hmm. And then for Christmas this year, my mom got my daughter the 3-quart.
That's
so
so
this
cute.
is kind of the baby. So I might a few times just show to compare the difference so you can see. You can really do the exact same things in the 3-quart, but obviously it's just smaller. So it's going to be smaller portion size. Some people use it as a side dish. Some people, if it's maybe just the two of them, will just use the 3-quart. I've used it, like I had gotten this really huge pork shoulder, and I actually put some of it in my big one and some of it in my little one. So that was really nice. So we've used it several times. So, all right. So I'd say let's just get that puppy out of the box.
All right.
And, and as you unpack, we can talk about some different things.
Okay. All right. So
it's like Christmas.
I know. I'm getting. So we have a power cord.
Okay. So one of the things just to point out is with the newer ones, the power cord is separate. And so occasionally I have heard of people, like if it's not tightly plugged into the Instapot, they're like, oh no, why isn't it working? So just make sure it's plugged in all the way. Because mine is a little bit older, is attached. It doesn't come off.
Oh, okay.
So that's a newer feature.
That's good to know. Okay, and then it's all put together.
Yay!
So we will just pull all the plastic off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So is the lid attached?
Yes, the lid is attached.
Okay. So if the lid is attached, you should be able to turn it on the handle to the right.
To the left.
Or left, okay. And it'll come off. All right. Let's talk about the lid. So I'll grab my lid too. On the top, well, first of all, the lid can go in the dishwasher.
Oh, good to know.
On the top rack, and some people choose not to, but I do put mine in the dishwasher. I'll wash it a little bit by hand first. So this is your pressure valve, and it should be a little bit loose.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be loose. That doesn't mean it's broken.
Yeah.
And steam is going to come out of that.
Okay.
When you cook. So you don't want to put your face or your hands or anything near that. And in fact, I make sure that it's not directly underneath my counter, because it's going to go up and it can get your counter too much moisture at the bottom of your counter. The other thing with this is occasionally people have had issues, and I have had this happen to me, of food coming out of the top. And it a lot of times happens with starchy recipes. So like macaroni and cheese, a lot of potatoes. So you want to make sure you don't overfill the pot is the first thing. And then we're going to talk about the different types of releases to prevent that. If that happens, this actually pops off so you can wash it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can. You don't have to pop it off every time to wash it, but you can. Okay, so look at this side.
Okay.
This inner ring comes off. You can just peel it right off. Yours will be more stiff because it's new.
Okay.
But go ahead and just sort of dig your finger in there. So like here's my newer one. You can see my ring is more stiff.
Okay, yeah. It's slowly.
It's coming. Okay. So you're going to take that out and actually, you know, I wash it separately. There you go. And you just submerge it in soapy water, and you can put it in the dishwasher too if you want to. So one disadvantage to these rings is they do start to absorb odors. And you can see this one's starting to get, this is my older one, get discolored, like it's not nearly as white. It's not really a problem. I've never found it to change the food. But definitely soak it in soapy water. You can use vinegar and baking soda. But what I've found, the tip I heard that works the best for me is to hang it outside in the sunshine for a couple hours. I actually hang it out on my back porch. And that actually helps with the odor. And the best of anything I've tried. And I've tried a bunch of different stuff.
So just after you wash it normally, you just hang it outside?
Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh. And you'll eventually want to replace this. Like this one, I've had it for a year. Maybe it's going to be starting to get time to replace it. But that's with that. And so then after you've washed it, if it's time to cook again, you're just going to gradually put that back in there so that it looks like this.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah, it goes in a lot easier than
Okay, good. When I started, I didn't even realize it came out. And then I saw something on somebody's thing, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't even know that. So now my pot's going to be a lot cleaner. And you can buy replacements, like I said, like on Amazon or whatever. So, and then you just also want to make sure when you put the ring back in that it's in all the way.
Okay.
The pot it has a safety feature that it won't come to pressure if like you have it partly out or something, but it's a good way to check it. And it's a little, you know, like a little loose in there. It can be moved around, but that's how that works.
Okay.
So, so that's your lid. Your lid is really important.
Okay.
Then let's see what's in there next.
Yeah. So next it looks like there are a couple different just plastic tools. So we've got the measuring cup, and then a rice paddle possibly, and then a little plastic doohickey.
So the cup goes on the side of your Instapot if you have a rice cooker. I know my rice cooker has one of these. There's a spot. Let's see. So this is, I'm looking to see. Here's the.
Oh, okay.
So as you turn it around,
yep,
it should click on there. So that will absorb moisture, and you just want to, or get the moisture. You want to make sure that you, on mine, it's underneath the back.
Okay, so it's a little to the left of that, this big thing.
Okay. Yep. So just make sure that you don't forget to clean it because it is going to get some water in there.
Okay, okay. And it does just snap on, so it took a little bit of manpower, but it's on there now.
Okay. All right, very good. And that's a newer feature too. My older one doesn't have that at all. So then the rice paddle and the spoon, you can use those or you can ditch them if you have other ones that you like. The main thing is just making sure you're not using metal on the inside of your pot because it would just crack up your pot.
Okay.
So same with the cup. I'm sure you have a 1 cup measuring cup at home.
So I have lots.
Okay, so what's next in there?
Okay, so we have some cardboard, and then we have the little.
Okay, that's called a trivet. And, oh, yours is nice. It opens. Mine doesn't open. So what the trivet is it's going to fit inside your pot like that.
Okay.
And you're going to use that for hard boiling eggs, what's called pot in pot cooking. If you have meat that you want to cook, but you want it up above the liquid, for example, that's what you would use the trivet for. So I showed the one in my 3-quart. Here's the one in my 6-quart. So just to give you an idea, you put that in there. You would put in at least a cup of water. You want at least 1 cup of liquid in your recipes. And then like, here's my, like that would go on top.
Okay.
So when you see people do cheesecakes, they have like a littler springform pan. I believe it's 7-inch. It works with the 6-quart. And that's how they cook those.
Okay. It looks like this holds it up really high. It doesn't look like something else would fit on top.
That's, yeah, and that's different than mine. Mine looks like this. So we might investigate that a little bit. Cause see how short mine is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder, how can I?
Okay.
Well, okay. It looks a little bit better. It looks like there's probably 3 or 4 inches on top.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I've got in here, and then just packaging stuff.
Okay. So then obviously you pull the pot out separately. Yep. A big mistake that I've read about that people make is sometimes they put the food right in here. Don't do that. Don't put the food in here. No, that's bad.
Noted.
What's nice about the pot being separate is you can make dinner ahead of time if you wanted to and stick it in the fridge, pull it out, put it in the pot. Or sometimes people will order an extra one so that they can have like one thing cooking, prep the next thing, then you can just pull it out, put it right in the pot, and you can get lids for these, so that's really nice. There was something else I was going to say with that. But yeah, so that's what's nice about that.
Okay.
So always put the pot in before you do the food.
So I see the 2 little markings inside. So there's a little half marking, and I'm assuming that just is half full. And then on top of that, there's the PC Max 2/3. So that is the line that I should never fill it above.
Exactly. You don't want to overfill it. Yeah. Okay. So that, first of all, if you overfill it, it might not even come to pressure. But if it does, that's where you run the risk of stuff coming up through the top of the pot, and it's really just a safety thing. It's not safe. So you don't ever want to go past that max line.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at the buttons.
All right.
And yours are probably going to look a little bit different than mine, again, because mine's older.
Yeah.
My 3-quart is newer. So does yours have a button that says pressure cook?
Yes.
On the bottom right?
Yes.
Okay. That is on the older machines, that is called manual, but on the newer machines, it's called pressure cook. They're the same thing.
Okay.
And that is what you're going to use a lot of the time. Like that's your basic setting. Like if you're not sure what setting to use, you can use that and that'll be fine. So you'll see recipes say like, 15 minutes on manual or 15 minutes pressure cook. And so you'll, that's the button that you use.
My friend Carrie just posted a comment. I think the tallness of the bet in yours and mine is actually handles to pull it out. Oh, okay. So off the bottom, I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure, but that's my guess. That makes so much more sense.
I don't have that.
The little.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And then I can pull it out. Thank you, Carrie. That is super helpful.
Carrie, you're so much smarter than we are. Okay. When you, so we talked about pressure cook.
Okay. Yep.
The other buttons on here, I really don't want you to get overwhelmed because
a lot.
There's so many buttons, but what it is it's just special foods. And you can even go online and see, like they show, like, let's say you use the yogurt button. It goes pressure, then up, then pressure, then down, then pressure. Like they've just figured out this is the setting that's going to be ideal for this particular food. But you could actually do everything with pressure cook and you'd probably be fine.
Okay.
But if you're cooking chicken, use the poultry button. If you're cooking beef, I use the beef button. Or if I'm cooking stew, don't get super upset about like, do I use beef or do I use soup and stew? It's soup and stew that has beef in it. It's not, it's going to be okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you though, I am really excited to see the saute button on there because there are so many recipes for my slow cooker that say brown the meat first and then put it in your pot. And I hate dirtying two dishes.
Yes. So let's talk about that. I'm glad you pointed that out. That's probably the one button that is totally different is the saute. So that's like a skillet. That's like brown meat, stuff like that. And I love that feature too, because I can like brown my meat for a roast in there or like beef stew or something like that. And then I brown it and then you can go right to cooking. One tip is after you brown food, you want to make sure you add a little bit of your liquid and take your spatula and like just pick up any of those brown bits, because if there is too much stuck to the bottom, it won't come to pressure.
Okay.
So just make sure you do that. But that's so great because first of all, fewer dishes. Second of all, it tastes really great because you get all that flavor all in one pot. Now I will say with the saute, it's basically just, that like you can't adjust the temperature a lot and stuff. So it's not like I pull out the Instapot to brown ground beef because it's better than my skillet. It's not really that. I mean, you're still going to have a better result with like fish or something in a skillet that you want to saute. But for foods that you're going to add that meat to it anyway, the saute feature is really nice.
Okay.
Same with the slow cooker feature. You certainly could. I don't tend to use that as much. You definitely could get rid of your slow cooker. I've chosen not to because I don't think the Instapot is as good with slow cooking. So and it's bigger and heavier. So I still use my slow cooker, and I really use this mainly for pressure cooking, but you certainly can. You definitely can. So, okay. So other buttons, let me go on this one. So soup, if you're doing soup, meat or stew, beans, chili, we've got rice, porridge, steam, and the porridge is the one that's good for like oatmeal, steel cut oats, stuff like that. Probably like quinoa. I've heard this rumor that Becky likes quinoa.
My favorite in the world. I have a friend that sends me packages to the quinoa queen to live.
That's awesome. And you'll see there's a yogurt button on there, which is awesome. That's relatively new. So, but I do want to encourage people, if you have an older machine that doesn't have it, you can still totally make yogurt in your machine. But it's nice that this has the feature. And then depending on which brand you have, you might have a delay start and you can adjust the level. But I think have we gone over all the buttons that are on yours?
Actually, I have a couple extra. I have a cake button.
Nice.
A steam button, a sterilize button.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The only ones you've missed. But so I'm curious, on pressure cook, there's a pressure level button on here. What pressure level is most common?
So you've got the pressure level, and then up above it, do you have a plus and a minus sign?
Yes.
Yeah, you can use those. There's just low and high.
Oh, okay.
If you low or high. And then those buttons, the plus and the minus, are also how you will adjust if something says cook for 15 minutes, then you'll push it up or down to get to your minutes. And with the different buttons that have settings like soup and meat, when you turn it on, it will give you a certain amount of time, but you can adjust that for your recipe. That's just there. If you're just going basic, I want to do a roast, and you push the meat button, and I don't know if it comes up with 30 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever. That's their standard, but you can totally change that.
Okay. And have you ever had an issue with, putting a roast in and clicking the roast button and then it not being cooked at the end?
Yeah, occasionally, especially if I cook from frozen. So you should add a little bit more time to frozen, like especially if it's a big chunk, unless it's a freezer cooking recipe. I do freezer cooking meals where I've got this whole casserole, so those are usually fairly accurate. The recipe is good. But if you're doing a big chunk of meat, let's say you decide to put it in for 90 minutes and then you open it and it's not quite done, you can just turn it back on and set it for, like, I would probably do maybe 5 to 10 more minutes.
Okay.
Also with meat, if it's not quite as tender, I would give it a few more minutes too, because the meat just continues to get more tender as it pressure cooks. You're not gonna overcook meat in this. I mean, if you cooked it for like 12 hours or something, maybe, but generally that'll make it more tender.
Okay.
But vegetables cook extremely, extremely fast in here. So the first time I made stew, I made the meat and then I added the vegetables, and I thought, because it had potatoes in it.
Yeah.
So I'll give it 15 more minutes. So it was already hot. The meat was already done. I'm going to add these potatoes and carrots and stuff, and they were mush. It does not need that much time. So I started getting on there and reading, like, you only need 5 minutes and stuff like that. And I thought, what are you talking about? You cannot cook a potato in 5 minutes. But it really only takes a few minutes with the pressure cooking. So
okay,
it's really true. It's really true.
So
I encourage you, when you start, to just pick a recipe that looks like it's been, tried and true, and just follow the recipe exactly. And then once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to develop your own.
So I actually have a few different recipes that I found for the Instant Pot for this next week. So there's a honey sesame chicken that I'm going to try. And there's a pork roast with potatoes and carrots that I'm going to try. So
perfect.
We'll see how it goes.
So exciting. Yep, very exciting.
Okay, so
awesome.
Questions I have for you, though. A lot of the pot and pot that I've seen, they have you using white rice, and they'll tell you to cook it at the same time. But brown rice obviously takes a lot longer than white rice. So most of those recipes probably will not work with pot and pot. Is that correct?
Well, I would experiment with it. What I would encourage you to do is just try cooking some brown rice separately. Try it with a recipe, see how it goes, see how long that takes, and then you can make an adjustment. But I mean, it should definitely still work. It's just going to take a lot less time, like maybe only 1 more minute or maybe only 2 more minutes. You have to change your thinking a little bit from, I just made not that long ago a bean soup recipe, and from dry beans, how long that takes.
Oh yeah.
On the stove or in the crock pot or whatever, and it was the recipe called for 45 minutes, and I'm like, okay, fine, but this is not going to work. I'm going to open it up. The beans are going to be hard as rocks, because that's usually what happens. And they were done. The soup was perfect. I actually used an immersion blender for half of it, and it was so good. We ate it, all week. It was just wonderful. So it's really not going to take that long.
Okay. All right.
So, okay. So your next steps, we're not going to do it in this video, but I know will be to do the water test. Mm-hmm. So really all that is, you're already set up. You'll just have to put your plug in, is to add a cup of water to this. Oh, I didn't talk about the types of release yet. I need to do that. So when you have your machine plugged in, when you put the lid on and it's working, you're going to get a little sound, kind of a doot-doot-doot. And that means that it's working.
Okay, I'm going to plug it in and try it with you here.
Okay.
So it beeped when I put it in. I'm not sure which way. Aha! It did.
Oh, did you hear it?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So once you have water in that, you'll be ready to go. The other thing I wanted to mention is there are 2 types of release. So you have a recipe that says cook for 30 minutes, and then most recipes will give you a suggestion like natural release, quick release. Sometimes it'll say like cook for 30 minutes, let it sit for 20 minutes, then quick release or something like that. So what that means is if the device is set to cook, then if you want to release all the steam that's in that device and all the pressure, you're going to just flick it. So if, okay, so on this one, this is sealing. It says on there sealing and venting. Those are the words they use. So it's on this one, and again, yours might be different. My older one.
Same. It says sealing and venting.
Okay, very good. So when you cook it, you have to make sure that it's put up to to sealing. And then when it's done, you can hit venting. Now a bunch of steam is going to come out. So I actually like to take the handle of a wooden spoon and just quick release it with that. And if you have any concern that it might spew out stuff, like if you knew you were cooking potatoes or you knew you'd filled it really full, then what I'll actually do is just like kind of tap it a little bit.
Okay.
Till the steam comes out, and then tap it a little more, and then tap it all the way.
Okay.
So that's a quick release. That quick release means I'm going to do it. I'm in a hurry. I got to get this food. Boom, quick release. I would also use a quick release, like let's say I was cooking vegetables and I don't want them to sit there and just get mushy. You would quick release.
Okay.
Natural release means you're going to let the pressure gradually decrease and you're not going to touch anything. So that takes a while. That's going to add, well, it depends on the recipe. It might be just a few minutes, but it could be up to maybe 10 minutes. I'm just guessing. Don't quote me on that. A lot if you allow it to natural release. So sometimes I'm in a hurry. I got to get dinner on the table. I'll still do the quick release. But if you can, I do think it's good for roast and like your pork roast that you're going to do. I would do that natural release unless your vegetables are in there and going to get mushy. But generally, that's the way to go. So once you do your water test, that's just to make sure that your pot is working. It doesn't have any malfunction. Put it in there for like 5 minutes. Go through the process. Then you're ready to cook.
Yay! I'm excited.
Yay. Okay, great. Well, I think that looks great. We're all set. So for those of you who are watching, that's how to use your Instant Pot. If you have other questions, post them in the comments, and we will do our best to answer your questions. I'm Sarah with Becky with Faithful Finish Lines.
Thanks so much.